So guys, in the previous classes, we have seen various kind of concepts of SQL in our lab, right? So something like they can be related to any kind of a language. It can be like data definition language, or it can be like data control language, data manipulation language, or we can say it as data query language. Whatever it may be, we have seen various kind of ways how to execute them in the software, right? I mean, with the help of this SQL, we can able to create a schema. Can we create a schemas with the help of SQL, right? With the help of DDL, data definition language commands, we can able to create the schemas, and we can able to perform storing of data. Can we able to store the data? Yes, we can do with the help of insert command, like data manipulation language commands, and with the help of DQL commands, we can able to retrieve the data query language, retrieve the data, right? Before retrieving the data, we are going to make it some kind of process, right? So based on the query, it is going to do some certain kind of process, and it is going to produce the data what the user is asking, right? So like this, we can able to perform various kind of operations with the help of SQL, but we cannot able to do certain kind of operations. Something like, if you are able to write certain kind of query, like select star from employee table, done. We are going to ask our system to produce all the employee details, right? But if I want to execute the same query for 100 times, is there any chance to execute the same query 100 times in SQL? No, right? So the thing is, like, we haven't seen anything, right? Which means it is no. So for that, what we can do now, the same line of code, can we make it in a one block? Can we make it in one block called simply a kind of a function? Simply a kind of a function followed by some function name. What you know the syntax? Select star from employee, and this is the block. I hope you know the general meaning of function, right? So simply nothing but function is nothing but a kind of a block of code which is meant for the purpose of reusability. If you want to execute the same lines of code again and again, we can go for the functions, but that concept is not going to be supported by the SQL, right? So for that reason, we are moving for one more kind of language called PLSQL, right? So if you are able to clearly observe, SQL means structured query language, which is a kind of non-procedural language. Whereas coming to PLSQL language, we can say it a procedural language, extensible to SQL. Means whatever the features that are going to be supported by SQL, all those features are going to be supported by PLSQL also. In addition to that, it is going to have various kind of other features. Something like just now we discussed. One is functions, something like procedures, cursors, something like packages, etc. These are the various kind of advantages that is going to be supported by PLSQL, right? So once we are saying that certain kind of a language is there, so every language is going to have minimum requirement. That minimum requirement is something like a kind of data type, right? So if you want to store certain data, you have to define what kind of data we are trying to store, right? So means data types are the common things that are supported by any kind of a language. Something like, so here you can say number is one kind of a data type, or something like varchar is one kind of data type, date time is one kind of data type. Like that, we are going to have various kind of data type. So I hope you have the clear meaning of this one. If I say PL by SQL, MySQL, etc., all these are various kind of what? Various kind of products of what? SQL. Very good. Various kind of products of SQL. Very good. SQL is a kind of a concepts. That concepts are going to be implemented by many companies, and they have given their own names. Among those, one is Oracle. They have given as PL by SQL. MySQL is also kind of SQL which will support some other things, right? So that's the reason in the lab you are trying to execute with MySQL. Right? MySQL is the implementation language of SQL. PLSQL is the implementation language of SQL, which will support additional features of SQL. That's it, right? So if I say something, what are the features that are going to be supported by SQL? All those features are inherently available in various kind of some other implemented products, right? So what are the data that are going to be supported by SQL? All those are going to be available here also, right? Yes. Coming to variables. Variables means what? Simply a kind of memory location which we can store certain data. So basically, we can create the variable in two ways. One is based on whether we are going to define inside the block, whether we are going to define inside the block, or whether we are defining somewhere, something like outside the block. If I are going to define inside the block, you have to use the syntax like variable name followed by data type. Variable name followed by data type. If you are going to write the variables outside the block, then you have to use the keyword called var keyword. Var followed by variable name followed by data type. This is what a kind of declaration, right? If you want, you can go with initialization also, right? So initialization means what? Variable name. If I say variable name is a, data type is something like number of something like 2, number of 2, and I need to initialize a value like 5. Initialize a value like 5, right? How can you initialize the value 5 now? If it is in SQL, you are going to simply use equal to operator, right? In PL by SQL, you are going to use this one. Assignment operator is going to different from PL SQL to MySQL, right? So this represents assignment operator, right? Earlier you have seen something like equal to is nothing but assignment operator. Now if I say this operator, single equal to operator, what is the meaning of this one now? Which will act as comparison operator. Means there is no point of double equal to operator here. Single equal to defines equality operator. Single equal to prefix with colon, I can say it is a kind of assignment operator, right? The same kind of syntax you can able to use it for outside the block also, right? Something like b number of 2 equal to something like 6, right? So if you are able to observe somewhere something like if a equal to 2, what is the meaning of this one? I am trying to compare two values, one is constant, another one is dynamic value a, comparing, right? Is a double equal to 2 or not? That is what I am checking. Okay, now fine. This is the way you can able to use the variables. So here, how you are passing the input? Statically. The input is static, right? If you want to pass the variables inputs dynamically, in C language, how we are going to pass? How we are going to take the input from the command prompt? By using scanf, right? Scanf percentage d comma ampersand something like a, means I am trying to read certain value of a from the command prompt to the variable a, right? Similarly, here also, instead of having the value 6 statically, if you would like to have dynamic value, you are going to simply ampersand operator ampersand b, that's it, which means that I am trying to take the input dynamically from the user, right? That's it. So ampersand operator is meant for the purpose of accepting the inputs dynamically from the user, right? So I think we covered everything. What about the print command? Like printf is used for to print the data in C language, whereas coming to here, like in PL by SQL, we can use any kind of some kind of method called dbms underscore output dot, so it will be a lengthy one, put underscore line, dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of what data you are trying to print here, you have to pass as a parameter. System.out.println in Java command, right? Same as here also, you have to use like this one. So here, if you want to pass any kind of variable, you can pass the variable. Like for example, if I say something as j, right? If I pass here the value of j, here you are going to get the value 5, right? Now instead of this j, if we place here single quotations, then it is going to produce the value as j. Means like it's a kind of a string, right? You can pass the double quotations also. Similarly, you can able to combine two variables, right? As in Java, you are going to use plus operator. Here you can able to use some kind of pipe operator, right? So something like j, or something like, if I say k is a kind of variable, k. So j, k. So something like something k value is 6, then j value is 5. You are going to get 56 as output, right? You are not mentioning any kind of space here. It doesn't mean like there is space, right? Or can we use any kind of concat method? Right? Is SQL supports the concat method? Yes, right? If SQL is supporting concat method, can we use that method here? Yes, because it is inherited language, right? So instead of that, you can go for simply concat method also. Means whatever the operators, whatever the methods that are supported by SQL, those methods you can able to use here also. That is what I am trying to convey here, right? So I think we covered everything. Like what are the basic things required for to write any kind of PL by SQL program, right? So right, so now if you look into basic syntax of PL by SQL program, right? So general syntax what you are going to use in order to write any kind of PL by SQL program is, generally we are going to have declarative section that we are going to define with a keyword called declare keyword, where we are going to have declarative section. Then we are going to write uh, the block of code what you want to write, the actual heart of the program, that we are going to start with begin keyword. So here we are going to write set of PL by SQL commands, PL by SQL code, and then if there are any kind of exceptions which you want to handle, that kind of related code you are going to use simply exception block. See something like if you are trying to perform 7 by 0, right? Hope you understood the meaning, right? 7 by 0, which is going to produce some kind of system defined error message which cannot be able to understood by anyone except the programmers, right? So to handle this kind of error messages, we are going to use exception block, where you would try to convert the system defined error messages into user understandable error messages. Hope you have the idea of Java language, right? There you have seen all these things. Exception block followed by, we are going to simply end the block, end the PL by SQL code, and then we are going to simply use the forward slash. Right? So this is the basic syntax of it will be a slash. So it may not be compulsory, right? So it depends upon the like version what you are using, right? In my system, you have to use slash compulsory, right? Without slash, the program is not going to be terminated, right? So if you look into here, this particular block is going to be compulsory block, and remaining all are going to be optional ones, right? Meaning that without declaring any variables also we can able to use the program, right? Simply printing the like hello world data, right? So and we are not going to handle any kind of errors, so there is no exception block. So you have to use compulsory begin keyword, and you have to use compulsory, these two are compulsory, and remaining all are going to be an optional one. Right? Any doubts so far? Right? So now what we'll do now, once we install Oracle software, you will get with this kind of command line, that is SQL command line. So SQL command line is just different from again MySQL command line. If you are able to observe, the MySQL command line is different which is asking for certain kind of different procedure. Like here I am going to enter certain kind of password to log in into this system. Yes. It is connected to MySQL, which is related to MySQL, right? If you are able to install Oracle, if you are going to install Oracle, you will get with SQL command line. If you open, your prompt will look like this. Is it okay? Right? So initially, if you want to connect to the database, you have to use con command. Con system is the username, default username, followed by some password. What you have set, some password. If you press enter, it will be connected. If you are going to give the invalid username, it is going to terminate it. So now we are connected with the database, right? Once we connected with the database, we can able to do various kind of operations. Among those, one kind of operation is we can able to perform some kind of PL by SQL programs we can able to write, right? So among those, for example, I would like to print the data, right? Is there a declaration section is needed, right? So I will simply go with the begin command. Begin. So I want to print the data, right? To print the data, what you have to use? dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of cs3 rgkt newsfeed, right? So then I am going to simply end, then I am going to go for forward slash, right? It has produced here something like PL by SQL procedure successfully completed. So I hope you don't know the meaning of procedure as of now. So you come across this particular terminology after 1 or 2 hours, right? So far you can understood that there are no errors. That is the meaning of this one, right? Fine. So but where you got the output? You haven't viewed the output right here. So if you want to display something output on the console, you have to change certain properties of the server, amma. So that is, you have to use the command called set server output should be always on. Set space server output should be always on. So now if you try to execute once again, begin dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of something. If I enter, I am going to end the block, then I am going to end with the forward slash. Now you will get the cs3 rgkt newsfeed, right? So meaning that here, if you want to display something on the console of the SQL, then you have to compulsory, you have to set the server output should be on, right? So this is the way you can able to use the print command, right? So similarly, you can go with the declaration of various kind of variables. So if you are able to observe here, declare. So hope you understood this meaning, right? So declare, in declaration section what I did, I have declared two variables. One is a variable initialized with computer science engineering. Hope you understood. This is the meaning of assignment operator, right? And this is the meaning of assignment operator. I have declared two variables, a and b, both are of type var character type. And my heart of the logic I have written inside the begin body, begin dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of concat of a comma b. Can I use the concat method? Yes, I can use directly, right? So what will be the output you are going to get? So you are going to get with the concatenation of both strings, right? Similarly, if you want to have to get the data dynamically, what I have used here? Ampersand a, right? Guys, can I use this particular syntax here? Yes or no? I can use, there is no problem. You can use inside the logic, or if you want to specifically mention them in the declaration section, you can mention, that's it, right? So variables can be declared anywhere, right? So this is kind of reading the data from the user, and B data reading from the user, and I have declared some variable called number. And in the logic part, now can I write this logic inside the declaration section? No, you have to write the logic inside the body only, right? So C equal to A plus B, and then C in the block you have to write the entire logic. That's it. Any kind of mathematical operations, all those mathematical operations you have to write inside the body only. After performing computation, I am going to simply print that. So here you can able to observe I am using simply pipe operator for the concatenation. If I execute, it is asking for simply enter the value for A, right? So if I give the value of is 5, A value entered, enter the value for B, I have entered 6 and sum of the given numbers is 11. 5 plus 6 is 11, no need to calculate. Somebody is calculating actually. Huh? Bold means something like a statement, that's it, right? So it's a kind of a statement. That statement is modified with this one, right? Ampersand A is going to replace with the value 5 what the user is passed. That is the meaning of it. Okay, now fine. So any doubt so far? No, right? Yes. So next we'll go with the another level. We can mention them as various kind of control statements or control structures, whatever it may be, right? So basically, if you would like to have to execute, the code, certain code, and if you don't want to execute the certain code, then what we can do? We can make use of certain kind of blocks, right? So something like if is a certain kind of keyword, if followed by certain kind of condition, then you have to use the keyword called then keyword. You have to use the keyword called then keyword followed by block of statements what you want to execute, and you have to go with end space if. This is the syntax for writing if statement. And right, there is a negative case also, right? So far we have written for only positive case, right? Else block means what? If condition, then block of the statements, else negative block of the statements, and then I need to go with the end. This syntax is compulsory, you need to remember. There is no other chance, right? And then you can go with writing the nested if also. Can you write the nested if? Right? Writing one if inside another if, I can call it as nested if, right? Simple, something like else if blocks also there, right? Else if blocks means if there is a condition, then is the keyword, set of statements. Else if means you have to use ELS IF. You should not use else if, right? ELS IF. You should not write E again, right? Else if followed by condition, then you have to go for set of statements, else if condition, then, and so on, right? So at the end you have to go with the else block, then you have to write a set of statements, then you can go with the end if. This is the syntax for else if block, right? Similarly, we can go with the set of statements. What is the alternative way for this one? Switch case, right? So in switch case, how the syntax will look like? Switch of certain kind of condition, and you are going to have body of the block. So simply case 1, case 2, and so on. 1 means something like which is a kind of a like value that need to match with this respect to past data, right? If C value is 1, it is going to execute this respect to block, and so on, right? Finally, you are going to have one more block is there, default, right? If all of the statements are not able to satisfy, then default statement is going to be executed, right? So this is what the switch statement is, right? The same kind of thing you can write in PL by SQL also, but here you have to use the opposite way. Here they are using here case. Case is nothing but switch here, and then you have to use selector. So selector means a kind of a condition what you want to check, right? Followed by you have to use, in place of case you have to use when. In place of case you have to use when. When what? When 1, meaning that the selector should be matched with the respective selector 1. When selector 1, then set of statements, what you want to execute, right? So when selector 2, then set of statements, when set of when selector 3, then set of statements like this, right? And so on. What about the default case here, right? So here also you should mention the default case. That default case they mentioned as else, right? You have to go with this particular procedure only. You have to go with the else case, right? So in else case we have to go with the set of statements again, right? Here else block is nothing but the default case, right? And finally what you have to do, end case, right? So it look like you only, right? Right, the way you are behaving, can't able to expect, right? So they mentioned some different manners, huh? There is no break statement here. You have to use the same syntax as usual, like you have to go with two end ifs. See, if you are trying to write like this, if case, then if you are going to write inside if case, then you have to specifically mention for this also. If you are not going to mention, it will get confused where to end its block, right? So that's the reason you have to go with like this. So something, this syntax is something like if followed by, okay now. So you have to make it clear that where to end its block. That's the reason we are going to use compulsory end block, right? Similarly, you can go with various kind of looping statements also, right? So if you take the looping statements, which you know the exact basic idea of all those, but coming to PL by SQL, the structure is somewhat different. Something like for loop followed by variable I, and you have to use the keyword in keyword, right? So in Python it is there in keyword, and you have to mention something like starting of the variable value and ending of the variable value for I in 1 to n. This is the way you can able to write for I in 1 to n. And generally in Python you are not going to use any kind of flower branches. Instead we are going to simply move your code inside the block, right? So that is going to be somewhat confused. But if you are going to use some kind of flower branches, there is no confusion. Here also in place of flower branches they have used a keyword called loop, and they mentioned something like end loop. What is the meaning of this one? Opening of flower branches, closing of flower branches, inside set of statements are there, right? Loop followed by end loop. This is while loop, right? Now what is the output of this one? 1 to n or 1 to n minus 1? It is not Python, it is PL by SQL, so it is 1 to n, right? In Python it will be 1 to n minus 1. The same syntax it will yield to 1 to n minus 1. Here it is going to be 1 to n. Okay. We will read it as TO2, but we will mention them as double dots. So next we'll go with one more loop kind of loop, that is while loop. While of condition, again instead of using flower branches I am going to simply use while loop, and I am going to make use of end loop, set of statements, right? Yes. So while loop is very easy. Coming to do while loop, so it should be something like, so what are the prerequisites here? You have to go with like do followed by set of statement followed by exit condition. On what statement you have to make it exit, right? So simply you can make them as something like loop followed by set of statements, and you have to mention one keyword called exit keyword, means when to exit the loop. For that I am going to use again when followed by condition, and this should be end loop. The when means a condition, right? When it should be exited. N should be a kind of condition. So this is for like for loop, as usual like for loop. This is as usual like while, and it will be like do while loop, right? Hope you have the clear differences between. No need of any indentation, right? So which is not like Python. In Python you have to follow the indentation. Okay, so without indentation it is going to get confused whether it needs to be considered inside the block or not, right? Yes. Fine. So we'll try to see various kind of programs so far. So first let us try to execute with if block, right? If you are able to clearly observe this particular syntax, I am going to declare one variable a. That variable a I am going to take it from the user, and I am going to simply check it for whether it is going to match it with whether it is matching with 2 or not. If it is going to match with 2, I am going to say that actual number and given numbers are equal. Otherwise, I am saying that both are not equal. Right, enter the value of a 5. Actual and given numbers are not equal. Right? Hope you understood the code. Right? Now, if I enter this one, I am going to give the value 2. It is going to produce both are equal. Right? Similarly, you can go with the nested if all those things. Right? So now you can observe this particular code which is related to switch case. So I have declared the one variable called choice variable. I am trying to take it from the user dynamically, and I am going to use a case statement, which means the switch case followed by the condition. When this particular condition is matched, it is going to produce the respective output. So at the end, you can able to observe here else block. What is the meaning of this one? Default case, number is not in the range. So finally, you have to close the case statement also, end case, and you have to this end is meant for what? End of the PL by SQL block, right? And this will be the close, right? So what does this code defines? What is the use of this code? Switch case is the example, that's okay. What is the outcome of this one? What is the purpose of this code? To convert the given number into word. To convert, so for example, if I give the number as 8, that will be converted into word format, right? Something like if I give the 56, it will say that number is not in the range. So the program is meant for only taking the values from 0 to 9, right? Next, we'll go with some kind of for loop. So for loop, right? You mentioned inside the block for I in 1 to 10. 1 to 10. So what might be the output? 1 to 10 only, right? If you are going to execute, you are going to get 1 to 10, not 1 to 9. Okay, now fine. Similarly, while loop, while condition, loop, the block what you want to execute, and then I am going to mention them as end loop, and then PL by SQL end block. I mentioned them all those. Value of a as 1 to 10, right? Next one, coming to do while. I am going to declare the initial variable value as 1 and begin, and the loop starts, and the block of the do while loop, and I am going to mention exit when I greater than 10. So when I am going to exit I greater than 10, when I greater than 10, I am going to exit it, right? So I am going to simply end the loop. That is, this is the syntax, or this is the program to print the numbers from 1 to 10. 1 to 10, right? So can you write the alternative code in C language? Alternative code in C language. What will be the alternative code for this? Do okay. Do followed by print something like printf percentage d comma I, braces close, while loop, right? While I less than 10. right? Or I greater than 10, I less than 10, right? That you have to observe. Here we mentioned the exit case, right? There, until condition is satisfied, I am going to go for the loop. There this should be while I less than 10, here it should be I greater than 10. Okay na? Fine. So this is the way you can able to use work with various kind of control statement, right? So not only this, we can have various kind of applications, right? Something like palindrome or not, sum of the given numbers, Armstrong of a number, reverse of the given number, whether the given number is prime number or not, all those things, right? So here you can able to observe, I have taken a simple one particular block of lines of code. This block of lines of code is meant for to define whether the given number is palindrome or not. What I mentioned here, I have taken four variables numbered from something like A, B, C, D. A is the number what I am trying to read from the user. B, C is instead with 0, D and some number. Hope you understood the meaning, why I have taken those things, right? And I initialize the D with a value A. Why? At last we need to check again the final result is matched with the actual data or not, right? So now D contains the what? Actual data. And then I am going to simply use some while loop, and I am going to use some kind of functions along with the code. Mod of A comma 10, and I am going to do something floor of A by 10, and this particular thing is going to be perform some kind of loop operation, right? And this loop is going to be ended at the end if C equal to D. Mean that if C double equal to D, then I can say that it is a palindrome, otherwise it is not a palindrome. So for this if, I have ended the if statement. For this loop, I have ended the loop, and for the entire block, I have to use one more end. So this is the way you can able to use PL by SQL. So enter the value of A. If I mention 535, it will be a palindrome. If I enter somewhere something happened, right? Enter the value of A, which should be 536. So 536 is not a palindrome, right? So like this you can able to use your program, right? So hope you know the entire logic, right? So logics are same, but the way that you are writing the syntaxes are going to vary from language to language, right? So not only this, you can able to work with the simple SQL statements also with help of SQL statements. So simply you can go with like select command, select, I am trying to print the name, and from which location? From the employee table, So if you are able to observe here, I have a table called employee table. So name, ID, age, and name is varchar2 format, number format, and I am trying to produce the data. Select star from employee. There are no data is there. I am trying to insert into one more row inserted. Select star from employee. Certain data is there. Okay. So if you are able to observe the thing here, I am trying to use switch case. This is a switch case. I haven't used any kind of condition. Simply enter into the block when mod of id comma 2 equal to 0. Then I am saying it is a kind of even number, right? And the default case is odd number, and I am going to simply end it. So and I have given the name as for the as means what? Naming convention as even or odd from employee table. So what it is going to do? So there is no specific use of this one, but we may use it this kind of structure also. So it is going to take every time age of the person, ID of the person, and it is going to check with modulus 2 or not. If modulus 2, it is going to say it's an even number, other it will say odd number. Like this also you can able to use. That is what I am trying to say here. Okay, fine. So now if you check the further, I am trying to execute these lines of code. If this lines of code is correct, what I have written here, see not only about the basic code, like addition or subtraction or multiplication, whatever it may be, you can able to use SQL code also, right? So that is what inside the block. Inside the block, VID is one variable I have initialized, and inside the block I have taken the VID number. VID number delete from employee where ID equal to VID. Now, what is the meaning of this one? This is a kind of a command used for delete the all the rows which are satisfied with the respective condition, right? If I enter, it is going to ask for enter VID, right? Now, if I ask here 6, will it going to be deleted? Yes or no? Right? PL by SQL procedure successfully deleted, right? So now, if I say select star from employee, deleted successfully, right? I can able to use the query. But the situation is here, if I try to execute once again with the value 56, with value 56, now what is going to happen? It won't happen anything. Again you got the same output, right? Which means that when there is a data is there, it is going to be deleted. If there is no data, it is also saying that something like successfully executed, right? So this kind of thing should not be correct, right? So I mean, if you are going to execute any kind of SQL query, which is going to process it, that processed data is going to be actually done at the memory level. Is going to be done at the memory level, right? So at the memory level, it is going to be done. Then, if it is successfully deleted, it will be saying that process is successfully done. If it is not deleted, also it will be show some same thing like that. But the situation is, I don't want like that. For successful deletion, I have to say deleted successfully. Otherwise, I have to say that failed successfully, right? So for that reason, you can go with one more concept called cursors. Cursor. What is the meaning of a cursor? It's a kind of a pointer, right? So generally, when you are trying to execute any kind of a language of the SQL, like it can be a DDL or DML or DQL or whatever it may be, the processed data always comes to the memory location. Always comes to the memory location. So for example, this memory location contains data in the form of tables. For example, if I write select star from employee, the data is coming into this particular location. Once it will comes to this particular location, initially it will be pointed by first row. It will be pointed to first row. Means if you are trying to print it, what is going to print? First row will be printed. This is what the pointer means. Pointer, or I can say cursor. Means by default, every system is going to have one kind of a cursor. We call it as implicit cursor. So with the help of this implicit cursor, I can able to move towards forward direction, and I can able to print the respective data. Right? But the situation is, I cannot able to do further some more kind of operations. For that reason, we'll go with one more kind of cursor called explicit cursors. Right? Meaning that there are some kind of drawbacks are there, the implicit cursors. To overcome that, we are moving for explicit cursors. Meaning that explicit cursors are given by whom? Developers. Right? They are inbuilt in. Right? When they are inbuilt in, which means that they are common for all. Right? If you want to use it for our purpose, I need to make it modify some other way. Right? So that modification of some other way, we call it as explicit cursors. Explicit cursor, right? So if you want to declare your own cursors, then you can use a keyword called cursor keyword. Once you declare the cursor keyword, if you want to reuse it multiple times, you have to give the certain name, cursor C1, and every cursor is going to be defined with respect to memory. So for that, I mentioned something like one kind of a language. Language means here cursor C1, something like select star from employee. select star from employee. What is the meaning of this one? Whatever data that is going to be returned by this particular employee table, which is going to be reside in the memory, that particular memory is going to be pointed by what cursor? C1 cursor. Now I can able to do certain kind of process over it. Through which variable? Through the pointer variable. What is that pointer variable here? C1, right? So first, if you would like to use this cursor, first you have to open this one. You have to open this C1. Then after opening it, you can able to fetch record by record. You can able to fetch the record by record, right? For that, I am going to use the fetch keyword. Fetch keyword, and at the end, you are going to use the close the cursor also. Close C1. Close C1. Okay now. So whatever the resources that you are trying to open, those resources should be compulsory closed down. If it is not closed and somebody trying to create a cursor, then they may get certain kind of error again, right? So don't worry about all those in depth about it, but it is always recommended to go for closing the cursor, right? So in other terminology, if I say in files concept you have C language, right? In C language files concept is there. Whatever the file that you are trying to open, you have to close it, right? All the open resources should be closed. Otherwise there will be memory full and some other files cannot be able to open. You may remember that point. Based on that, you can simply close the respective cursor, right? So this is what about explicit cursors, right? So you can understand simply the difference between implicit cursor and explicit cursors is, in implicit cursors I can able to process the data based on my need. Based on my need, I can able to process it in whatever the order I want. I can able to do it. But implicit cursors, according to their given procedure, you have to follow that. And the one more difference is, all the cursors what you are trying to declare means what? They are explicit cursors. You have to mention them inside the declare section. You have to mention them in the declare section. That's it. Okay. So hope you understood why we are moving for the cursors, right? We don't know what is happening at the back end. Even if you are not going to, if you are going to execute directly, whether the data is deleted or not, we don't know. Whether data is not deleted also, we don't know. For that, we are moving for cursors. So we'll go with various kind of attributes. First, before going for further, again, we'll try to know certain kind of attributes are there which are supported here. One is percentage found, percentage not found, something like percentage row count, row underscore count, something like percentage type, etc. These are the various kind of attributes which will be supported by PLSQL. Percentage found. What is the meaning of this one? If the language, if the SQL language like DDL, DML or DCL, once it performs certain operation, it is going to do something like, right? If it is going to be deleted, at least one record is going to be deleted. Means we can say it is found. Am I right or not? If I say delete from employee where ID equal to 6, where ID equal to 6, then it has to be identified first. If it is identified, then only it will be deleted, right? That particular thing is going to be available in the memory. We can able to make it identified by using percentage found. Percentage found. If the data is found, it will be written as true. Otherwise, it will be written as false. What is percentage not found? If there is no single data item, it will return true. Returns true. Otherwise, it will return false. Just opposite to this one. What about percentage row count? After processing it, if you are trying to perform deletion operation, how many records are going to be deleted? If I am trying to perform retrieving operation, how many records have retrieved? If I am trying to perform some kind of update operation, how many records have updated? All those things will be done by percentage row count, right? So how many rows we can say affected? We can say affected, right? Similarly, percentage type, which is a different one. Percentage type defines like the data type of the variable, right? Basically, if you would like to declare any variable, something like which you don't know, if you are going to by mistake define like where a number, right? Actually, there is certain data where a can store character, but by mistake you mention them as number. then definitely it's going to give the wrong result, right? See, if there is a table, this table is ID. ID is a kind of integer, or if I say name, it's a kind of varchar, and I would like to check for whether a double equal to n or not, double equal to n or not, whether a equal to n or not. So now what will happen here? Type miscompatibility, right? One is integer, another one is character, right? You should have the same, should be same data type first, right? So to make the same should be same data type, first you have to know the structure of the table also, right? Structure of the table you have to know, right? So if you know the structure of the table, then you can mention here it as varchar 2 of something 10 or something like that. But if you don't know the table structure, what you can do? You can simply mention the variable name, which table it is you are trying to use. I am trying to use the employee table. In employee table, what is the column name? What is the column name? Name, and its data type is what? We don't know. That's why we will mention them as a percentage type. Means PL by SQL automatically take the data type of the respective column. That is the advantage of this percentage type. Okay, now fine. So now let us see some of the examples regarding with what we discussed. Right. So try to observe this one. What I did, I have declared one variable called VID. I am trying to initialize the variable VID by taking it from the user dynamically. Then with respect to that ID number, I am going to delete the record, and if the return values contain some count, right? If it is going to be matched, it is going to return certain count, at least one count, right? If it is found, SQL modulus, so SQL command you have to use, SQL keyword you have to use, SQL modulus found, then it will say that record is deleted. Otherwise, you can say that fail it to be deleted. That is the advantage of percentage found attribute here, right? So here on what base it is happening? It is because of implicit cursor. We are not worrying about. We are just simply using implicit cursor attributes, and we are trying to work it. Right? If you are able to observe, I think 5 is there, right? If I say 6, it is going to say that fail it to be deleted because 6 is not there. If I press enter once again, if I give the value 5, yes, record is deleted. So that is the advantage of implicit cursors. Okay, now, right? So similarly, if you want, you can able to count the number of records also. For example, if you look at this particular example, I have used a command called here delete command, and I am trying to say that number of records deleted are SQL modulus row count. Right? How many number of records are going to be deleted is going to be shown. So it is like SQL percentage row count, not row underscore count. Right? If I say 6 again, number of records deleted are here 0, meaning that there are no records are deleted, right? Because there is no such data. No rows selected, right? So this is the way cursors are going to be work, right? Next we will go with explicit cursors. If you try to observe this particular example, so I would like to make my output in a like my own format. What I mentioned here, I am trying to retrieve the data select star from employee that I stored in a memory location. That memory location I want to use. That's the reason I have used cursor here. Cursor C1. For that I have used here keyword called is. Cursor C1 is select star from employee. Means my retrieve data memory is going to be pointed by C1. Now here I have declared three variables. Y means to make it some kind of process. Something like I am trying to begin the block and I am trying to open the cursor, open C1, and I need to iterate my entire table, right? Iterate the entire table. So open C1. So if I want to iterate the entire table, I have to go for looping. We don't know exactly how many number of rows are there. Loop, then exit. When exit? When the record is not found. Loop outu untundi. When the record is not found, I am going to simply exit. In between, what I have to do? Every time I am trying to take the record from the cursor and I need to make it, make the data, right? The C1 contains what data now? C1 contains name, ID, age, right? That I am going to copy it into temporary variables vname, vid, vname, vid, and vh. Vname, vid, and vh, right? So based on like the order in which the C1 contains data, you have to make them in the respective order. The respective order, right? So if you are able to observe, vid is number, vname is varchar, vh is a number. So vname, so table data, whatever the order is there, that should be the same order. Name followed by ID followed by age, right? And then I am going to print it in my own format. Once I copy into my own temporary variables, I can able to print its own my own requirement. There is no problem. That is the advantage of explicit cursors. Whereas coming to implicit cursors, whatever the data that you are going to get, you have to simply paste there itself. So simply I have to end the loop and then I have to close the cursor and then end of the PL by SQL block. What happened? So data is there, data is not there, right? Insert into employee values of j, 6, 26. If I press enter, so you can able to observe here 6j 26. Okay now. So fine. So like the date. So now you can able to transform it in your way. Like first you can print the age, then you can go with the name, then you can go with the ID also. Or if you want to multiply something like so. For example, if somebody is asking for you to do some other task like I want to perform some kind of data where it is going to have serial number, name, age, their salary. Using the cursors concept, you want to print some of their salaries. What you can do, ma? In the body, you have to fetch each and every iteration value, and in the variable, whatever it is there, you have to make it sum. Okay, na? Right. Similarly, here you can able to observe here, as I know the database data type, I mentioned specifically vid as number, vname as varchar2, vage as number. But if I don't know exactly what type of data type is given by the table of the SQL, then what I can do? Simply I can use table name dot column name percentage type, employee dot age percentage type, and then I am going to simply use the remaining code. So you can get the same data. Okay, now fine. So I think this is the concept of cursor sum, right? So we'll stop here.